1 Samuel 8. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abijah, and they served at Beersheba. But his sons did not follow his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, "You're old, and your sons do not follow your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have." Okay, that is an important statement. It always stands out to me because God said from the very beginning that his people were to be a nation set apart to him. And we're still supposed to be a nation set apart to him. We're not supposed to want to be like the other nations. And even if there's the temptation to be, we're not supposed to do it. And ultimately what the Israelites are asking is, we don't want another prophet. We don't actually want God leading us through his prophet. So this is why God responds to Samuel in the way that he does, saying, they haven't rejected you, they've rejected me. Because ultimately that's what they were doing, is we don't want God leading us. We want to be like these other nations. Good grief, if only they knew what we are dealing with today. But when they said, "Give us a king to lead us," they displeased Samuel, so he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord told him, "Listen to all that the people are saying to you. It's not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king. As they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly, and let them know what the king who will reign over them will claim as his rights." Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking for a king. He said, "This is what the king who will reign over you will claim as his rights. He will take your sons and make them serve with his chariots and horses, and they will run in front of his chariots. Some he will assign to be commanders of thousands and commanders of 50s, and others to plow his ground and reap his harvest, and still others to make weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will make your daughters be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his attendants. He will take a tenth of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and attendants. Your male and female servants and by the way, we're talking about a tax here, right? Your male and female servants and the best of your cattle and donkeys, he will take for his own use. He will take a tenth of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his slaves. When that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen, but the Lord will not answer you in that day." But the people refused to listen to Samuel. "No," they said, "we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go out before us and fight our battles." When Samuel heard all that the people said, he repeated it before the Lord. The Lord answered, "Listen to them and give them a king." Then Samuel said to the Israelites, "Everyone go back to your own town." Chapter 12. Samuel said to all Israel, "I have listened to everything you said to me and have set a king over you. Now you have a king as your leader. As for me, I'm old and gray, and my sons are here with you. I have been your leader from my youth until this day. Here I stand. Testify against me in the presence of the Lord and his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? From whose hand have I accepted a bribe to make me shut my eyes? If I've done any of these things, I will make it right." This speech actually always breaks my heart. It makes me so sad, because if they only knew what a human king is going to do. This is a man who has been, he was offered as Hannah's firstborn. He has been at the temple since he was a young child, since he was weaned. But not only that, but he's taken seriously his role as a prophet. So it just makes me so sad, because he has served them, obviously, with his life and with his heart. So it just makes me sad. I identify with this in a certain way, that I've given up everything in order to do what I'm doing right now. And people really don't want it. And it's actually not really personal to me, although there are parts of it that feel terrible, because I think about, my gosh, I gave up everything, and I'm doing this with my whole heart every single day. Every day I'm saying to God, I'm going to make every single day count that you have given me to do this thing that you've set me apart to do. And I know that this is really an affront to God. I know that who people are really rejecting is God and what he's offering at this time. But I got to tell you, God's prophets go through it in order to serve in the way that they're serving. So this is it's sad. "You've not cheated or oppressed us," they replied. "You've not taken anything from anyone's hand. Samuel said to them, "The Lord is witness against you, and also his anointed is witness this day, that you have not found anything in my hand." "He is witness," they said. Then Samuel said to the people, "It is the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron and brought your ancestors up out of Egypt. Now then stand here, because I'm going to confront you with the evidence before the Lord as to all the righteous acts performed by the Lord for you and your ancestors. After Jacob entered Egypt, they cried to the Lord for help. And the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your ancestors out of Egypt and settled them in this place. But they forgot the Lord their God, and he sold them into the hand of Sisera, the commander of the army of Hazor, and into the hands of the Philistines and the king of Moab, who fought against them. They cried out to the Lord and said, 'We've sinned. We've forsaken the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashtoreths. But now deliver us from the hands of our enemies, and we will serve you.' Then the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Barak, Jephthah, and Samuel, and he delivered you from the hands of your enemies all around you, so that you lived in safety. But when you saw that Nahash, king of the Ammonites, was moving against you, you said to me, 'No, we want a king to rule over us, even though the Lord your God was your king. Now here is the king you've chosen, the one you asked for. See, the Lord has set a king over you. If you fear the Lord and serve and obey him, and do not rebel against his commands, and if both you and the king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, good. But if you do not obey the Lord, and if you rebel against his commands, his hand will be against you, as it was against your ancestors. Now then, stand still, and see this great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes. Is it not wheat harvest now? I will call on the Lord to send thunder and rain. You will realize what an evil thing you did in the eyes of the Lord when you asked for a king.' Then Samuel called on the Lord, and that same day the Lord sent thunder and rain. So all the people stood in awe of the Lord and of Samuel. The people all said to Samuel, 'Pray to the Lord your God for your servants, so that we will not die. For we have added to all our other sins the evil of asking for a king.' 'Do not be afraid,' Samuel replied. 'You've done all this evil, yet do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. Do not turn away after useless idols. They can do you no good, nor can they rescue you, because they are useless. For the sake of his great name, the Lord will not reject his people, because the Lord was pleased to make you his own. As for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by failing to pray for you. And I will teach you the way that is good and right. But be sure to fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart. Consider what great things he has done for you. Yet if you persist in doing evil, both you and your king will perish.'" I watched parts of the RNC and parts of the DNC, and I'm just really, frankly, disgusted. I'm disgusted at the idolatry. I'm disgusted at the way that they worship these people and how stupid, blatantly stupid people are. That they would listen to a woman who is in power right now, has the ability to do certain things, has contributed to destroying our country and fighting 2 wars that are not ours. Not that we're allowed to fight wars anyway. We're not allowed to murder, guys. That's supposed to be the rule for Jews, Muslims, and Christians. But who cares? Who obeys God anyway? Is God even real? Created inflation. And now scapegoats the grocery stores and everyone else for price gouging, right? I mean, we're being gaslighted every which way. This woman who is feigning compassion for both sides of the fence. She doesn't care about anyone. She's a liar and a coward. She wants to use her race card as though that's an indication of being the underdog. That's not an indication of being the underdog. And somehow marginalized. You're not marginalized and the underdog just because of your race. There are some people who are of a particular race whom this has happened to. But because you are a particular race does not imply this. In fact, I went to school with people who are very privileged, people of color who were very, very privileged. And they were very, very offended when they were treated this way, because everybody learned in university that if you're a person of color, you apparently grew up poor. Give me a break. I'm phenotypically white. I grew up with a mother who cooked fries in a kitchen. We were always on welfare, always had Medi-Cal. She rode her bike to work until she was 50 years old. Don't tell me what it is to be poor and marginalized, because your skin is darker than mine. That makes no sense. The truth is, this is a woman of incredible power and incredible privilege, and her skin is darker than mine. The color of your skin has nothing to do with it. She has been given incredible power, and she's using this race card while Palestinians outside, where true racism is happening, are protesting because babies are being bombed to smithereens in a war that she is supplying. And she refuses to do anything for the actual marginalized and oppressed. To make no mention of the fact she's done nothing for the so-called black community that she's a part of. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. She has been given extreme power and privilege for a purpose and lacks the sense to understand why she's been given anything to use for the glory of God. This is a woman who is destined for destruction. And the same goes for the other side. A person who claims to be of God. Look at the fruit, people. Everyone is so hopped up on their flesh at this point in these conventions that they lack basic common sense. The Obamas getting up on stage. You know, Glenn Greenwald was talking about this. I've come to really appreciate his analysis. This is an independent, and I'm not promoting politics, but you do need to know what is going on in the world to a certain extent, led by God's Spirit. Let me say that again, led by God's Spirit. Glenn Greenwald, I very much respect because this is an independent. He lives in Brazil. He's not voting over here. But he gives an honest analysis, and I found his analyses to be unbiased and to be very straightforward in just presenting the facts of the hypocrisy on both sides. And I appreciate that because I don't need someone telling me what to think. Now, he is not a Christian. He does not speak on the authority of God. But I'm able to watch what he talks about and listen to what he talks about without this baloney of being told what to think because he's receiving some kickback from AIPAC or because there's some sort of gag order in the United States because he's not even here. So I very much appreciated his analysis. And one of the things he pointed out is that the Obamas are up there talking about all the time talking about trying to relate with you as though they have anything in common with you. Listen to this little snippet of Michelle Obama talking with indignance, by the way. These people who love to talk about God, right? Like God comes out of their mouth as though there's anything godly about them. They use it to their advantage. But listen to what she has to say.
Most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
The affirmative action of generational wealth. Do you know how wealthy the Obamas are? The homes that Glenn Greenwald showed on his video, on his analysis, which, by the way, is entitled Obama's Warn America of Perils of Wealth and Privilege at DNC. These people have at least 3 homes, one priced at almost $2 million, another over $11 million, and another over $8 million. Do you relate with these people? Because I don't. I do not identify with whatever Michelle Obama is talking about in her very nice outfit, very nice shoes, long manicured fingernails. This is how she shows up everywhere. Praised by the media for her fashion. Come on, guys. You identify with these people? No, you look at these people and they look pretty to you. So you're attracted to looking at them, and then they give you a message to bamboozle and gaslight you that they're your people. They know you. They're fighting for you. Are we really that stupid? Where do you think they're getting their wealth from? It's on your back, honey. Everything they have is coming off of your back. Mordecai told Esther in Esther 4:14, "If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" That isn't the attitude of these people. They feel absolutely no shame to lie to your face, to make you think that they care anything about your suffering, that they're going to do anything about it when they're in power. And by the way, one of them's in power right now. Hello? If Kamala Harris had any intention of doing anything different, she'd do it right now. She has cackled her way through the vice presidency and done absolutely nothing. You know what the thing that she has done the most for is abortion. She has done the most for abortion, for murder of a fetus. That's where her heart is. If she doesn't care about life there, she's not going to care about life somewhere else. And if Donald Trump doesn't care about managing his own house as a Christian man, and he's out there having affairs with porn stars and supporting this genocide in Israel and fraternizing with rich elites, so-called Christian elites, In blatant counterfeit Christianity, is he going to do anything different? The idolatry is disgusting. It makes me literally sick to my stomach. The chanting and the overactivation in everyone's flesh. It is so sickening to me. These people are destined for destruction. You have to understand what the false prophet is at this point in history. If America was ever a good thing, it ain't no more. And the Bible told you it wouldn't be. So all of this, patriotic ideology, counterfeit Christian ideology, you need to be able to see through it. And you need to be able to understand that, recently we read Daniel 2, in which the word talks about God is the one who deposes kings. He's the one who sets up kings, and he is the one who deposes kings and raises up others. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in the darkness, and light dwells with him. He's the one who does these things. He is the one who's going to choose the spirit that's going to reign over you. And he is choosing the vessel right now in whom that spirit is going to reign over you. Whether you're in the United States, I don't care what country you're in, because this is going to be a global issue. The spirit of the Antichrist is going to dwell in the leaders that are going to reign over you, and you need to know the reason why, because that's what you chose. You will not be spared from it. The only people who are going to be spared from this are the two witnesses, the 144,000 who are sharing their testimonies right now, who returned to God when he called them, and they are going to be spared from that Antichrist reign, from being here during those 42 months. They won't be spared from being persecuted. They won't be spared from being tested. They won't be spared from being killed. Because when that Antichrist rises, it's going to overpower and kill the witnesses. But he does say in Revelation 3:9 that he spares them. Actually, I think it might be in verse 10. That he is going to spare them from the hour of trial and testing that he's going to bring on the entire world. So they're not going to be here during the Antichrist reign, during the 42 months. They won't be here during the 45 days. Everyone else will be. And God is choosing the vessel who's going to carry that spirit that is going to reign over you during that time. Does that mean that the Antichrist is a man? No, it doesn't. Or a woman? No, it doesn't. The Antichrist has never been a human being. The word says that the Antichrist is the spirit of Satan. Many antichrists have come, and that there is a kingdom of antichrists at the very end. Now, I've been telling you that Donald Trump is going to win. And the reason I've been telling you that is because the Antichrist is counterfeit Christianity, and Kamala Harris doesn't stand for anything. Donald Trump is the one campaigning for this Antichrist, for the combination of church and state. He's been doing it since he was president. This combination of church and state, he uses it just like Constantine the Fake did of the harlot Catholic Church. He uses so-called Christianity as a way to gain political power. And he will give counterfeit Christianity whatever they want. He will give his donors whatever they want. And so if counterfeit Christianity wants to worship this image of the Antichrist that is counterfeit Israel, he's going to give it to him. He's going to give all of that support over to Israel. And then Israel is going to turn and persecute Christians. So I don't know exactly how that's going to happen. I'm just telling you what the word says. That image of the Antichrist is the persecuting power. It's the persecuting power that's going to kill those who refuse to worship it and refuse to receive its mark. It's marked in their hearts, by the way, which means that what you have done is ingested their ideology. That's what you believe. That's what's coming out of your right hand and your forehead. It's not a chip. It's not a tattoo. I want you guys to understand and to discern the message that I'm speaking to you. The spirit that you have chosen is the spirit that's going to reign over you. But God says that if you find yourself in this position and you return to him, he will restore you. That doesn't mean you're going to come out of prison. It doesn't mean that you're not going to die, because if you're his, you will. But if you return to him, he will restore you to him, that you will teach transgressors his ways, that you will receive his ministry so that you can have a testimony, a lampstand on which he will place his light. And if you don't do that, there's no hope for you. I'm just going to say it real clear. There is no hope for you if you do not return to God. And for those of you who have children, how will they be led to God? You'll not only forsake your own life, you'll forsake the lives of your children and those whom he has placed you in a position of trust over. That is why it is utterly despicable that people like Kamala Harris and Donald Trump feel no obligation to stand for justice and to stop this slaughter, especially in the name of God. They serve only themselves. They serve a narrative that is completely false, and they are going to their destruction as part of the false prophet. They will be thrown into the lake of burning sulfur if they do not return to God. And frankly, I don't believe they will. It is sickening, the level of idolatry that people are engaging right now with these absolute morons at the pulpit. These people don't have the sense to save themselves. They're dressed in the world. Most of them are Hollywood elites that are speaking at the DNC right now. They don't have the sense to save themselves. Why are these the people that America is praising, that America is listening to tell them what they should think and believe? It's unbelievable, and they're there chanting like a bunch of idiots. The same thing goes for both sides. I don't want you to think that I'm taking a side, because I most definitely am not. They both disgust me. You were never supposed to want a human king. You were never supposed to put your faith and your hope and your trust in a human king. And even more so now, you should be able to see this. God is the one who's going to appoint that spirit. And you should be able to see right now that that spirit is in both of these candidates. Anybody who continues to say Israel has a right to defend themselves, wah, wah, wah. Anyone who keeps with that narrative, because I heard JFK say it the other day too, they do not have truth in them. Because actually the word says you don't have a right to defend yourself. You are to turn the other cheek. You are to pray for your enemy, give them what they want. You are to trust in God for vindication and justice. And you are not allowed to murder. That should be a pretty easy thing on a daily basis. The rest you got to work your heart into. I mean, I understand praying for your enemies is very difficult. Loving your enemies is very difficult. Does God say that anybody has a right to defend themselves with murder? Absolutely not. And all of these people, Muslims, Jews, and Christians, they all have the same command. Every single one of those religions has the same command. You are not allowed to murder. So why are they all doing it? Why are they all giving support to this? Hypocrites and liars. Anyone who says this, who condones murder and war, is a hypocrite and a liar. And I come from a strong military family. They are hypocrites and they are liars. If they had God in them, he would have moved them to not do what they did. They are guilty of the blood that they shed. I don't care what the narrative is in the United States regarding freedom and everything else, because my Bible says that God made his people free when he ruled over them. When they chose him, when they obeyed him. That's what my Bible says. And I believe in that Bible. So you make your decision. What is it that you're going to believe? Are you going to believe in the word, or are you going to believe in the work of your own hands? Are you going to believe in your King of Kings, or are you going to believe and put your trust in a human king? Choose you this day. Please discern this message with God.